It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, taking your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. We start today with a case of wrongful termination. Maybe. That is what's being alleged by a former employee of Home Depot, a woman in her 70s who was terminated after she allowed some fraudulent purchases that led to about $5,000 being lost by Home Depot. However, she alleges the company specifically doesn't want us doing anything with thieves. I tried to call for management and no one was there to help me. We're going to go through this story, and then you are the jury, and you're going to tell me, was this wrongful termination? At 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. For the story of the fired Home Depot employee, we go up to the Bay Area and KGO.
From the I-Team tonight, a 72-year-old former Bay Area Home Depot employee is suing the retailer for age discrimination and wrongful termination after she was fired for failing to stop fraudulent purchases of roughly $5,000.
Age discrimination? I wonder how that's going to play into this.
Yeah, the incident happened at the San Ramon Home Depot 3 months after a loss prevention officer was shot and killed at a Pleasanton Home Depot while trying to stop a theft attempt.
ABC 7 News I-Team reporter Melanie Woodrow is here with the story, Melanie.
Dan and Amma, we hear about theft in the Bay Area all the time. This one's a little bit different. Carlene Acevedo was fired from Home Depot last July for creating a security or loss prevention risk. That was according to her termination letter. She says she felt scared and intimidated by the person at her register. Amma, we hear about with a suspicious card.
Okay, so a bad guy goes up to this 70-year-old checker and has some kind of weird card that he needs her to scan. And then he says in a very intimidating voice, okay, that's worth like $1,000. You need to give me that in cash. Super, super suspicious. But if you're in the mindset of, I don't want to do anything to piss off any criminals because we just had one of our security officers in a neighboring town getting shot, well, that might put you in a state where unless management comes to help you out, you're going to do whatever you can to let this thing go.
For creating a security or loss prevention risk. That was according to her termination letter. She says she felt scared and intimidated by the person at her register who was paying with a suspicious card.
All right, let's get into how exactly this scam happened.
You're phenomenal in every way. We are grateful to have you.
During her 7 years working as a cashier at the San Ramon Home Depot,
Well, I guess loyalty for working there for 7 years counts for nothing, huh, Home Depot?
Carlene Acevedo says she won multiple awards for exceptional service, including Cashier of the Year in 2021.
I loved working there.
But last July, Home Depot fired Acevedo after she rung up 4 fraudulent transactions, resulting in a more than $5,000 loss for Home Depot.
I was so upset. I just wanted to get out of there. I've never been fired before.
Acevedo says she was...
Wow, in 70 years, she's never been fired? Okay, let's see. It is 2024. I've been of working age since about 2002. No, I didn't get fired from management. I got fired from TGI Fridays on the same day I was going to quit. I'll tell that story someday. It is rather embarrassing. Let's just say it was one of the earliest cases of posting things on social media can get you in trouble. I was laid off at KLSX, so that doesn't really count. I quit KFI. That job I had in between KFI and KBC, it was kind of like a mutual. No, I don't think I've ever been fired. All right, I'm on a good track here. Oh, except for the TGI Fridays story.
Acevedo says she was working alone in the garden center when a man approached her cash register with a card that had written instructions on the back to process the transaction as cash. She rung up a purchase for a little more than $1,300.
The card was suspicious. It was very suspicious. But I went ahead and ran it.
Approximately 30 minutes later.
I wonder how this works. So she gets a weird card. The guy says, okay, run this card and I need this out cash. And okay. She scans the card. It does something.
But I went ahead and ran it.
Approximately 30 minutes later, she says the customer returned.
And then I knew for sure that...
By the way, these criminals are so greedy. You got off with one scam, and because it worked, you decide to go back and really push your luck with this elderly cashier. How dare he?
He was targeting me because I was alone.
Acevedo says she tried to call her supervisor, the head cashier, but no one answered.
He was demanding.
Okay, this is the part of the story that really bothers me. She knows something is fishy. She tries to call her manager for help, and nobody picks up. So now she gets the full blame for this situation, even though she's being intimidated. Again, somebody was just shot and killed by a criminal at a Home Depot in neighboring town. She's not going to defend Home Depot. She's not going to defend those plants with her life.
Because I was alone.
Acevedo says she tried to call her supervisor, the head cashier, but no one answered.
He was demanding. He wanted the transaction done as fast as possible. He got upset when I made the phone call to my manager. I was scared.
According to her termination letter, Acevedo ran 3 additional separate transactions as cash, this time for more than $4,000. She said
this guy got real greedy.
She says she kept duplicate copies of the receipts that she took to her manager.
4 days later.
Well, look at that. She didn't just I'm going to pretend like this ever happened. She kept receipts of the fraudulent transactions, brought them to the manager. Hey, I tried to call you about this. This guy was super intimidating, but I went ahead and did it. But here is the documentation. And they still fired her. I don't know. If I'm on that jury right now, I am giving this woman everything and then more. But we haven't heard the whole story yet.
She says she kept duplicate copies of the receipts that she took to her manager.
4 days later, I got fired.
The incident happened 3 months after Pleasanton Home Depot loss prevention officer Blake Mose was shot and killed while trying to stop a theft attempt, a story Acevedo was familiar with.
It was devastating. I mean, it was sad.
Acevedo says as an employee, she received annual computer-based training by Home Depot on what to do in the event of a shoplifting or active shooter.
What were you instructed to do?
I was instructed not to do a thing. Do not approach. Do not touch. Do not try to dissuade, not to interfere. Just let them go.
The official training for Home Depot employees, including the 70-year-old cashier, is do not interfere with the thieving. Now, that mostly is applying to if you're witnessing some shoplifting, but also I would think that would also apply to somebody that's trying to run a scam on you, where they don't want the liability of you getting into a fight with somebody or this employee getting assaulted or even shot based on something like this. So if it's Home Depot's policy for her to not get involved, what exactly do they fire her for?
Dissuade, not to interfere, just let them go.
She was doing everything she could. She asked for backup. She's making copies of the receipt. You know, she can't risk her life for merchandise, and employees are explicitly taught not to risk their life for merchandise.
Acevedo's attorney, Chambord Benton Hayes, also questions the timing of her termination. According to the lawsuit, 6 months prior, Acevedo learned a teenage new hire at the store had a starting salary of $21 an hour. Acevedo, who was 70 at the time and had been working at Home Depot for 7 years, was making $20.17 an hour.
Oh, that's not fair. You give a brand new starting salary to the teenie, but this woman who's worked there for 7 years, who's obviously dedicated to her job, she's making less than the new hire? Rude.
She complained and the following month received a $2 raise.
They really just wanted an excuse to terminate her. The moment she complains, she's terminated within a few months.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think it's that. I always believe in incompetence over malice, but I don't know. I don't know how some companies operate. Is it possible that they were looking for any excuse to get rid of her because she complained that she wasn't making as much as the teenage new hire and she got the $2 an hour raise? And then the person next door was probably going to be like, where's my $2 an hour raise? Maybe they're trying to nip this thing in the bud. I don't know.
By email, a Home Depot spokesperson told the I-Team, I can't discuss ongoing litigation.
I lost so much. I lost my health care, my health declined as a result of that. I had difficulty finding work, and paying my rent was put into question.
Acevedo says it took a while, but she was able to find new part-time work.
It was a devastating and...
Did she go to Lowe's? Okay. Don't need to go there.
It was a devastating, emotional experience.
Acevedo's attorney says that she'll try to obtain surveillance video from the store as part of discovery, as well as any employee handbook or instructions that might exist regarding what to do in a situation like this. Dan and Amma, if this individual had just walked out with the item, she might still have her job. But because he went to the register and she processed those transactions as cash, she was fired.
Good.
So you just heard the story of the 70-year-old Home Depot cashier that was terminated. She had somebody come up to her cash register with some kind of suspicious card that he gave her to run and transfer as cash. I don't really know how that works, but you know what? Criminals can make anything sound legitimate. So she processes the transaction, even though it seems a little shady. Then the guy comes back, tries to do it 3 more times. She tries to call her supervisor for assistance. Supervisor doesn't answer. Her training is anytime you see anybody involved in thieving, in stealing, to not get involved. While this isn't straight up shoplifting, it's very similar. There's still thieving going on here. It's just thieving of cash in a scam. So you have all of that going on, and the mindset that just a few days earlier, a loss prevention officer was shot and killed at a different Home Depot. So my question to you, the jury in this case at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think this was a wrongful termination, or do you think the cashier should have known better? Not going to play the drop, even though it would be appropriate, because I feel for this woman. This is horrible. And she's been there for 7 years. It seems like they throw her under the bus. I don't know about the age discrimination thing, but you can make a case for that too, because if you're in the jury pool, you got to go after both of those counts if this thing goes to trial. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think this Home Depot cashier was wrongfully terminated? I need you to analyze this case. I need you to tell me what you think, because that's how this thing's going to happen. Unless we get to a settlement, this thing could go to trial. But she's doing her job. Someone's trying to scam her. It is the training of Home Depot not to deal with thieves. Don't just let them do what they do. And even when she tried to call for help, no one answered. Should she have been fired for this? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. A Home Depot employee was fired after processing 4 fraudulent transactions as cash. She claims that she felt intimidated, tried to ask for a supervisor's help, and the supervisor never answered. And she says her training is not to deal with thieves. This isn't the straight up shoplifting, but still, the store's out $5,000. She is alleging wrongful termination and age discrimination because she is 70 years old. Do you think this is a wrongful termination case? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Sadie in Tustin. Sadie, hello.
She should have left her station, Randy. Leave the cash register. Go get your manager. I think she was in the wrong. Maybe one time with it happening, but not multiple times.
And what do you make of when she thinks that she's saying, that she felt intimidated and like, if I make the wrong move here, I'm going to get attacked?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a different story, but if in the lawsuit, I mean, that's an alleged, I mean, I don't know if that's going to fly in court, but I mean, for it to happen multiple times, I think it's kind of on her.
Well, that is definitely what I think Home Depot's going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I do feel bad for her, and I think it's unfortunate, but I do kind of think it's on her. She should have hightailed it out of there. She shouldn't have helped the person. She should have left. That's what I would have done.
I like that. She should have run to management. She should have run to a safe employee area, because this guy was trying to get away with $5,000 in cash. You make a really good point, Sadie.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Simple question, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You've heard the story of the 70-year-old Home Depot employee that was fired after processing $5,000 in 4 different fraudulent transactions where she swiped some card and then gave this guy cash. I still don't know how that works. But she is claiming that it's wrongful termination because she tried to get a manager on the phone and no manager answered, and it's Home Depot's training not to deal with thieves. Do you think this is wrongful termination? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Sandy in Claremont. Sandy, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm great.
I think that she was wrongfully terminated. I'm 65 years old, and I work for the school district, and I know how it is when you get older and you're trying to work. But also, when you mentioned about her being a 7-year employee, that a younger person was hired in at a higher wage than she's being paid, I totally relate because I've been with the district for 20 years, and we have new hires that are coming in that are just a few dollars less than I am.
Oh, wow. And do you ever say anything about that?
No, I haven't, but I just, when I hear how much they're getting paid as a new hire, and I think of all the years I've been at my job, and I'm like that, I don't know. I understand the grievance that you have with that. So.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. And she's alleging that she thinks that part of this might have been retaliation because she did speak up and she did get that raise.
I think that it sounds like it. It sounds like it to me, and maybe this was an excuse for them. I don't know. When I worked in retail before, prior to working at my school job, and I don't know what I would have done in that situation with someone trying to steal money. Like you, I've never heard about using a card to get cash back from. I don't know how that went about. I've never heard of that, so I don't know what that situation was.
Well, Sandy, thank you so much for giving us your opinion. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. All right, so far we've got 1 for rightful termination and 1 for wrongful termination. The jury pool expands. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think this case of the Home Depot cashier was wrongful termination? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to my buddy Joe in Hemet. Joe, hello.
Hey, Randy. Absolutely, and I'll tell you a couple of quick things why. Years ago in the communist store Walmart, a lady I know, older lady, worked there. I'm standing there talking to 2 radical customers, man and a woman. She says, "Excuse me, Joe, could I ask for the receipt for those people?" She does. The lady curses her out. The lady comes over, kicks the employee, the old lady, in the ankle. I'm standing there, right? The Walmart manager comes over. The people start ranting at her. Guess what? Next week, they fired the lady that was working there, and I found out they gave the people that were stealing a $25 gift certificate. This is what goes on. Home Depot, Lowe's, I've stood there for 20 minutes. A manager, where are they? So this lady, I believe, is true. The other thing is, quick thing, I'm in Walmart. A couple of weeks ago, I said, "Excuse me, could you get someone? I need some men's underwear." So, okay, they grab somebody. Okay, lady comes over. I go, "Excuse me, could you help me? I want some underwear." She goes, "Don't speak English. Could you get someone?" Another lady comes. Well, an Italian lady comes over to me. She says, "I've been waiting 20 minutes, right?" So a lady finally comes over and she says, "What's your problem?" And I'm not getting rude or anything. I don't do that. I said, "Well, we're waiting for someone." Well, she says, "You're racist," because I said, "Could you get someone that speaks English?" I said, "Ma'am, excuse me, you know what the difference between me and you and your people are? If I went to your country, I would learn the language, the customs, obey the laws, want to fit in and do it legally." I said, "Racist?" I said, "How dare you tell me that?" None of these stores care about nobody, Randy. It's all about money, every one of them. And please, men, women, don't risk your life for these morons in the big business. They don't care about you.
There you go, Joe. Thanks so much as always. You can always appreciate Joe for a big rant. Speaking of stores that just don't want to take your money, I had 2 experiences in my life, once at a Macy's and once at a Sears. It's a wonder why both of those seem to be going out of business left and right, where I walked around for a good 20 minutes and could not find somebody to take my money. How exactly is that a working business model? But that's a different story for a different day. Is it wrongful termination or rightful termination? In the case of the Home Depot employee, worked there for 7 years. She's 70 years old, who processed 4 fraudulent transactions. She says under duress, and no one from management was around to help her out. And her training is to not deal with thieves. Do you think this is a wrongful or a rightful termination? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz. Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. The phones are jammed, so let's get right to it. It's the case of the terminated Home Depot cashier. She says she was wrongfully terminated for fraudulently processing 4 transactions as cash. She felt intimidated, tried to call for a manager, and it is company training not to deal with thieves. This wasn't shoplifting per se. This was more swiping some weird gift card and then giving out cash. Do you think this was wrongful or rightful termination? Let's go to Morris in Studio City. Morris, hello.
Yes, in the state of California, you can terminate anybody for any cause, such as City of Los Angeles. They wanted to put on the ballot to terminate LAPD officers for misconduct without a hearing, and Karen Bass said no, she wouldn't allow to put it on the ballot. Unless you have a union contract, there's a stipulation that you cannot be terminated. You're going to get terminated any time. You could probably lose your job for no good reason. I mean, there's no contract there. And yes, she should get fired. So there's nothing in the law that says they have to keep her. So, a lot of people should get fired and they're keeping their jobs. That's beside the point.
Well, there you go, Morris. Appreciate it. Just for the record, I do have a contract, so good luck getting rid of me. Let's go to Richard in San Fernando. Richard, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Doing great.
I agree. I think it's wrongful termination. 2 things. One, of her age, it's almost a prima facie case for termination. And 2, the fact that I've witnessed Home Depot's absolute refusal to do anything. I watched a guy walk out with an air conditioner, brought it to the attention of the cashier, and then she brought it to the attention of the manager. We watched the guy, followed him out of the parking lot, walked past a KFC and a Taco Bell, both of which had security cameras, and I found out that they had, in fact, filmed the incident, and the manager refused to even request the security video to see the license plate of the vehicle the guy got into with the air conditioner.
Yeah, see, that's the part where I think the employee has a case, is that it is the official policy of places like Home Depot and Target and what have you to do nothing when there is thieving going on. They don't want employees getting involved whatsoever. This is a little different, but it's still thieving.
Yeah, it is. And the point is that, as long as they keep up with those policies, I mean, you can say to somebody, stop, thief. You don't have to accost them or grab them. And a lot of people might just drop what they're doing and you've saved that merchandise. But they don't do a thing. They just sit there, mute, and act stupid.
And the more and more people see it, the more and more people don't want to shop at places like that, because when you go into a Home Depot and people are carrying out air conditioners, you don't feel as safe going into that Home Depot. Richard, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Was this case of the Home Depot cashier rightful termination or wrongful termination? Let's go to Patrick in Lawndale. Patrick, hello.
Hey, Randy. How you doing today?
Doing great.
Rightful termination. They're trained not to give cash.
She should have known what she was doing.
Yeah, they're trained not to give cash. And for that filthy joke, a white horse jumped in the mud.
I'm glad you called back, Patrick. I figured that was you. Thanks so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. So Patrick called in on the John Phillips show in the 2:00 hour. And he was in the middle of a conversation with somebody when we got to him. And he was going to tell some kind of joke about Shang Tao. But once we got to him, he didn't feel comfortable telling it anymore. So he's like, you caught me off guard. And then he hung up. And there he is. He called back. See, it really pays to listen all day here to 790 KABC. Let's go to Ollie in L.A. Ollie, hello.
Hi. Yes, I am against her being fired because, number one, the other lady, she was just talking about, she should get fired, but I don't think that she should have been fired because when you're working at a Home Depot or Walmart, you told to stay at your station. She did right. She didn't supposed to leave her station. The first thing she's supposed to have done when she recognized it was to make a call, and she did that. I just think it was something else. They was trying to find a reason to fire her because if she would have walked away, they would have fired her from leaving her station. So she did the right thing. She called, and she did not. No one came to assist her. So it was out of her hand at that point. So they should, 70 years old, she been there 7 years. Come on, she don't show faithfulness. So that's not fair.
Yeah, where's the respect for the fact that she worked there for 7 years? And I really don't want it to be that they were not happy with her because she complained that the new hire had a higher starting wage than she had for working there for 7 years, because that's on them. That's not on her.
Right, but you know what? With her going to Home Depot, it's going to be a lot of loops and changes because they have the top lawyers. So I don't know what kind of outcome that would be.
Well, the nice thing when it comes to these kind of fights with big corporations is that once the story gets out into the news and, local TV's reporting on it, we're reporting on it, sometimes the bad press is enough that the company wants to make it go away. It would be advantageous to them to settle with her than to have this go to trial, because it's not black and white. Like, there are definitely a lot of people that are going to look at this and it doesn't make Home Depot look good. There are some people that are going to think it was her fault, but there are a lot of people that think, no, this wasn't right. And then that could be the deciding factor, whether you buy your hardware at Lowe's or Home Depot.
Right. And I'm going to continue to pray for her because it's not right. That wasn't right.
Well, Ollie, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it. And of course, if you can, shop at your local hardware store, because you'll find maybe not as big of a selection, but you'll find friendly people, lower prices, and really, really just a community atmosphere. There's this little place on Van Owen and White Oak, Reseda Hardware. It's so cute. I love it. The only problem I have is that it's closed on Sundays, and usually the days where I'm doing my housework and I need to go to the hardware store 3 times are on Sundays. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Tim in Simi Valley. Tim, hello.
Hey, Randy. Good to talk to you as always. I'm perfectly willing to give you an answer, but I need some more facts. There's no way in the world that this person should have had anything more than a few $100s in the till. So if this person is giving change back on a supposed $1,000 gift card, and they give $900 back or whatever the heck it was, or however that transaction was done, there's no way that person gets fired for not maintaining the proper amount of cash in their register. And if they come back and get hit for $4,000 more, I mean, you got to wonder what the heck's going on. Now, I don't know, maybe this person brings $3,900 worth of stuff to get checked out, presents $4,000 in cards, gets $10 back, and walks out with $3,900. That's not what happened. It can't be. Anything that's worth any money at Home Depot, like refrigerators and those kinds of things, get sold at, in those departments. They're not sold up front. So there's a lot of facts that are missing here. What did she do in between transaction 1 and the next transaction where the person came in for an extra $4,000? Did she just, say, well, that went wrong, and talk to my manager at the end of the shift? Was it another day? I mean, there's just so many things that are going on here. And the one thing I really don't see is that there is any motivation whatsoever based upon her age. And this idea that they're letting people go for an extra $1 or $1.50 an hour seems pretty far-fetched. So, frankly, the whole age thing seems like a basis for which the person, when they file the complaint, they don't get tossed out on their ear with this idea that a person can, in fact, be terminated with or without cause in those kinds of circumstances. So, I mean, there's just not enough here to come to a conclusion. It's kind of speculative. Yes, it's a rough deal. I think that I'm going to believe everything the lady said. I'm going to believe that she was sincere, and that makes it robbery because it's taking a certain amount of goods by threat of fear or force, and so she was robbed. The store was robbed. Did she, in fact, make it worse by having too much cash in the till? I used to have a union job like that, and I guarantee you, I would have been written up, and the union would have not been able to do anything to prevent me from being fired if I had that kind of money in my till and got robbed. So
you make a really good point, Tim. I mean, the last time I was a cashier was at a fast food place at Magic Mountain when I was 15, but if I had more than $200 in the till, I had to go make a drop. She worked in the garden center at Home Depot. How much money could be in that cash register?
If there's a lot of money in that register, that's when she contacts her manager and they come and they do a pickup. You're required to manage the cash in the drawer. And in the job that I had, now it was a long time ago, so let's double the number. Let's call it $800 in the till. If you had that much money in your till, you were getting written up. You do that more than twice, you're fired. The union could do nothing for you. And those are things. I mean, and if she's responsible for them losing $5 bills, how in the world did she have $5,000 in her till over the course of 2 transactions? There's just not enough information here, and it seems to me like she's, there's a little histrionics going on here, and the attorney is trying to capitalize on the idea that she's a nice woman at 70 years old with 7 years with the company. There's more facts to go on here, and I think this is probably not a great case for the plaintiff.
Well, you make some really great points, Tim. I really appreciate the call. It looks like we're going to discovery, people. Got to find out some more information. 800-222-KABC is the phone number as we discuss the rightful or wrongful termination of this Home Depot cashier that fraudulently processed $5,000 worth of weird transactions. I don't know how any of this worked, but I feel bad for this lady. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get right back to the calls and go to Steve in Anaheim. Steve, hello.
Hey, Randy, how are you today?
Doing great.
Really appreciate your show. Glad you got your show. Randy, I can tell you from experience, Home Depot has cameras, and they were watching everything. They reviewed, before they fired her, they reviewed everything that went on. And what you guys are missing, I've been training cashiers for many, 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 many years. I'm 67. This is the number one way that employees scam the company. They get somebody to come in, they give them a refund that's not justified, and bam, company's out money. So there's more to this story than meets the eye, man.
That's very, very interesting. Well, if this thing progresses, we'll find out if there was something nefarious going on over there. Steve, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Hey, I got a real awesome giveaway for you here. 790 KABC welcomes the legend himself, Danny Elfman, to the Hollywood Bowl on November 2nd. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Butch in Santa Monica. Butch, thanks for holding.
Hey, what's going on, Randy? Hey, listen,
Doing great.
I really feel for that lady and situation, but it's like that drop you guys play all the time. If the cashier is dummy, you know what I mean?
If the cashier is dummy.
Yeah, she should have known better, man. You know, if that was, okay, because it's Home Depot, you figure they could cover it. But just imagine her working for a smaller retailer and coming out of their money $5,000, man. She'd have to go like that guy in that movie Casino, sit there and let the people rig up all of that slot machine. But hey, I hate to say it, but you know, she
you make a great point, Butch.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the call, Butch. I really appreciate it. The one thing, if she was working in a small place, is if she called the manager probably would have answered. But I wasn't going to play the drop, but because Butch requested it, can't not.
If the cashier is dummy.
Great calls as always. Thank you all so much. If you ever miss an episode of this show, I would love it if you'd subscribe to the podcast. There are some easy ways to do it. Apple Podcasts is the easiest way. Search for KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang. Subscribe. You get all the episodes. You can leave a review. Or just go to kabc.com/newsblitz, kabc.com/newsblitz, kabc.com/newsblitz. You can listen to all of our Monday through Thursday shows where we talk about local news, and on Friday where we have a little fun, talk food, talk booze, talk travel. One show we did about hiking, that was a lot of fun too. Before I go, I got to tell you something that has brought me immense joy over the past week. If you have an iPhone, you know that you can customize your home screen, right? Well, if you hold down the home screen, there's a button that says customize, and you can customize it to a photo shuffle, and you can have that photo shuffle be a specific category. Well, I take nothing but pictures of food and pictures of my pets. I've got 2 dogs and a kitty, and I put it to random photo shuffle of animal photos. So the tens of thousands of pictures I have on my phone of my 2 dogs and my cat randomly pop up every hour on my home screen. It's like having a digital photo frame with you all day long. And the pictures of the puppies we used to have that passed away years ago are on here too. And every time I look at my phone, it just warms my heart and makes me happy. So need a little joy in your life? Do a photo shuffle home screen with your pets. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.